Hello and welcome back to Fenton Gaming Plays Baldur's Gate 3. I'm your host Fenton. In this Baldur's Gate 3 build video, we're doing the pure Barbarian Berserker Raging DPS build. As always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more Baldur's Gate 3 builds like this. Do not forget to hit notification bell so be updated and much more. So here's the pros and cons of this build. Number one, for the cons, let's get this out of the way. Yeah, you're not going to have much range and spells at all. You're mainly focused on a, you guessed it, melee type of build. Now, as for the pros, yeah, you have your rage. Your frenzy gets more powerful as you do level up, number one. Your melee DPS will be really high, and the most important thing for a barbarian besides high hit points is their movement. You can get a lot of movement out of this build. So let's go ahead and start with, you guessed it, character creation. Now let's go ahead and go over character creation, what you should definitely do. Karlach is actually a perfect template for this. It's better than her other, I should say, subclass. Yeah, just trust me. Her DPS went through the roof after I did a switch when I did get into Act 2. So let's go over the races. Now the first race we're going to definitely do is the Tieflings. I'm going to do the Zariel Tieflings, and let's go ahead and go over that. Your base race is about 9 movement. You're going to need that a lot for this build. You have dark vision so you can see in the dark, that's great, and you have hellish resistance. In other words, you take only half fire damage. Zariel's the best one besides getting advantage on intimidation and performance checks. You'll also get 2 smites as well for extra damage. So the next race on the list we're going to definitely go over is the human. Humans are very good races, so you have 9 movements, that's 9M, that's good movement. You have a selection of good weapons, including glaives and halberds, which is nice for two-handed weapons, especially the halberds. There's a good one in Act 2. Human versatility, you get an extra proficiency and skill. Instead, everybody else gets normal 4, you get 5. Githyanki, this is an underdog race. It's actually good. Astral knowledge gains proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability. This is really useful, especially when you're talking. Githyanki, psionic mage hands. Something far away, you want to pull a corpse down, something like that, use that. Base movement speed is 9M, that's good. And martial prodigy, the great sword, you have a nice proficiency in that as well. Now, next up on the list is the elf. Yeah, you can actually, there's a good reason why for this. Besides 9M movement, which is nice, you get elfin weapon training, which is not bad at all. Dark vision is 12 meters, which is great. And here's the thing, you get advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic cannot put you to sleep. That's one less crowd control, and the best sub-race for that is Wood Elves. They get a lot more movement, so they increase by 1.5 M. This is great for a barbarian. You want to move around the battlefield a lot, this is it. Next up are the Dwarves. Let's go over that. Movement 7.5, that's alright because your height, but don't worry, you have other good advantages with that as well. Dwarven combat training, I'll probably say definitely the Battle Axe, that's nice. Dark Vision is 12M, which is good. And you get Dwarven resistance, saving throws against poison. You have resistance against poison damage as well. Gold Dwarves are the best because you get extra hit points. But Barbarians have the most hit points they get when they level up. This is a huge advantage. Now, next up on the list, I felt like the goods for the last race is the Half-Orc. That's 9 meters per turn. That's very nice. Normal movement like the other medium-sized ones. You get Dark Visions. That's good. Relentless Endurance, you get down, you get 1 hit point back up. And this is the best one for the Half-Orc. Savage Attacks, so when you land a critical hit, you get to do more dice rolls, which is devastating. Now, what's this build, I should say, class all about? You're a barbarian, you do a lot of damage up front. Your rage is going to help you out, and eventually that turns into frenzy, which you do a lot more damage as well. With frenzy, you get to throw too. And also, unarmored defense, your constitution modifier will go into extra AC if you're not wearing armor, which is good for this build. Now, there's only 2 backgrounds I felt was worth it. Outlander, you get athletics and survival, which is good. And soldier, which is athletics and intimidation, which is nice. Either one of those are good as well. Now, for ability scores, I put the 2 points in the strength and the 1 point in the constitution. So I'm going to go ahead and just fix this now and go over each of the ability points you definitely want to do. Strength, this is, you want at 16. This is your bread and butter of this build, everyone. It's really powerful. Really great as well. So you're going to be leveling that to 20 by the time you're done. So that's like a natural 20. Dexterity is 14. Get myself a little bit oomph in armor class. and +2 modifier on dex. Constitution 16 is great, more hit points, and you get that nice modifier for that armor if you're not wearing any. Intelligence is 8, that's your weakness. Your wisdom and charisma are 10. Wisdom for story and charisma for that talking a little bit at the average. Now for skills, you definitely want athletics. That's tops in your force and survival. I'll probably say perception's good, so this way you can look around if there's anything else there. Another thing's intimidate, that's good. So you definitely got athletics. That's the most important for this build with that skill. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now if you're a human, I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody what is your skill you definitely want for a human. So for a human, I'm going to probably say is acrobatics. So this way it'll be easier for you to move around. So the 4 skills I mentioned for humans, add acrobatics to it, and that's about it. So once we're done creating our character, let me go ahead and switch back. It's time to definitely, you guessed it, everyone, go ahead and level up, which we're going to do at this very moment. It is now time, you guessed it, to level up. So as you know, barbarians get a whole bunch of hit points. It's always been like that ever since they've been introduced in the Dungeon and Dragon world. Yeah, that nice hit point from 15 to 25 is very good. So let's go over the class features. Danger sense, when you sense things are alright, you have advantage on dex saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces. To gain this benefit, you cannot be blinded or incapacitated, so that's a good thing. Reckless attack, until your next turn, you have advantage on attack rolls, but your enemies also have advantages against you. It's a change off, like you want more attack rolls. That's a good thing. By the way, that is on max, so it's good. So we get our chance to now at level 3 to select our, you guessed it, subclass. We're going to select Berserker. And as for our race, yeah, we get ourselves the Legacy of Vernus Smite. It's like a fire smite. Instead of rage, you get Frenzy now. What do you call it? You get Frenzy Strike and a Rage Throw. And also you get to make a proof weapon attack as a bonus action. So in Rage Throw, you get here's the thing about Frenzy Strike first. I went a little bit ahead. As a bonus action, you make a melee attack with your equipped weapon. In Rage Throw, you get to throw a target, knock him down for additional damage. You can also cause him to be prone, which is good. Now, another thing is we're at level 4, so things are going to start to really pick up. Well, if it didn't at 3, well, 4 does. And at 4, we're going to go ahead and do Great Weapon Mastery. Now, here's the deal with that. When you land a critical hit or kill a target with a melee weapon attack, you gain another melee weapon attack as a bonus action. So if you got 2 attacks, now you get 3. As long as you don't use a bonus action. Now, your attack rolls are -5. That's the downside. Melee damage bonus plus 10. So if you use that relentless attack, that minus will be definitely gone. It'll even out nicely. I forgot to mention, honorable mention is Savage Attacker. That's another good feat as well. So we're at level 5. We get one important thing, an extra attack. Instead of 1 per round, you get 2 now. Now with Great Weapon Mastery, and if you didn't use the bonus action, you get 3 attacks. And then you get an additional attack as well with the Frenzy Strike. Fast movement, your movement speed is increased by 3 and while not wearing any heavy armor. This build, we're not going to wear any at all for heavy armor. And at some point, we're going to be using some cloth stuff, which is very good. And also, for Zariel Tieflings, you get Branding Smite. Check your other races for other things you get too. Now we're at level 6, everyone. You guessed it. So we get ourselves additional rage charge. So every few levels you get more charges. You use frenzy / rage depending on what your subclass is. In this case, frenzy. Mindless rage. Your rage becomes all-consuming, repelling outside influence. While friends, you cannot be charmed or frightened, and calm emotions, you cannot be calmed down no more to stop your raging. So we're at level 7. So this is what we do get at this very point in time. We get is Feral Instinct, so you get +3 bonus to initiative and cannot be surprised. Those are potions that have 5 initiatives and cannot be surprised. Will be most likely useless, but this is a good passive ability that you do automatically get for this class. Now we're at level 8, so we're about to go ahead, you guess everyone, get a new feat besides some more hit points. So we are going to get is I put some points in the strength, so put your ability improvements by 2 in the strength. When we get that to 20, by the time this build is definitely done and over with. Now, next up to Bat is, you guessed it, we get another ability, which is Brutal Critical. When you train to strike swift and true, when you land a critical hit, you get an extra die, as well normal additional dice rolls. Now, if you're a half-orc, this thing stacks. You do a lot more damage when you critical hit, which is good. Now, next up is level 10. We're close to a cap. 12 is a cap, by the way. And we get ourselves a new action. Menace of Enmity and Still Terrible Fear within them. If target resists this effect, it cannot be targeted again until long rest. So, if you mess up or they resist, yeah, that's long rest. Otherwise, this is a good ability to make them fear before you, make them run away in case you have trouble against certain foes that you could definitely fear. Now we're at level 11, so let's go ahead and talk about what we get. We get another class feature. Relentless Rage. Once per short rest, if your hit points drop to 0 while in rage, regain 1 hit point instead of being down. This is like the half-orc version, but this will only work when you're frenzy. So this is a good ability to use and definitely abuse. Last but not least is level 12, so we get 2 things. We get another charge for using additional rage in case frenzy. And we get ourselves a feat. So the feat I'm going to go ahead and suggest at this point is 2 more points in his strength. With that, we are definitely done with this build. For the next part of this build video, we're going to go over some stat increasements. I'm going to go ahead and go over the 3 permanent ability score boosts that you could definitely use for this build. Now, please note, I didn't do Auntie Ethel at the time I was using my paladin. Be careful on any of the actions I do in the game. So, besides spare Auntie Ethel by getting her under 10 hit points, she'll give you an offer of letting her live and get yourself a +1 ability score item. So if you decide to go odd, then definitely go ahead and even up the points. Otherwise, either do strength or constitution. Now in Act 2, this is very important. You must make sure a Str OR Con is alive, number 1. And number 2, you must have contact with Ajara. And plus, give your blood to her. Once you do all that, she'll ask for a Str OR Con to bite her. Once that happens, you get yourself a special potion. This is a +2 strength potion. Since strength is your priority in this build, you want to do this in Act 2. Yeah, keep a Str OR Con alive. Keep him happy. Yeah, do whatever he needs to do to keep that happy. So, yeah, definitely want that. Last but not least, I think this one's important, is the Mirror of Loss. So, you do get 3 things, but first you got to pass 2 intelligence modifiers. So, yeah, good idea to get the crown that the orcs have in Act 1 to set your intelligence to 17. Also, safe scum and do that unless you're playing R in difficulty, and then you're screwed. So, after you pass the 2 checks, 3 things will happen. And, yeah, do not cheat the mirror. You cheat the mirror, you get nothing. So when you lose a stat, you get a +1 charisma on a secret charisma throw and 2 stats of your choice, or just 2 stats. And finally, if you mess up on both charisma throws, that's the secret ones, you get nothing, nada, and that's it. So I'll probably say for the Mirror of Loss, +2 strength big time. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the potion 1 in Act 2, and of course the Mirror of Loss stat gain as well. After you donated some blood to Aja, what happens is you get yourself a very nice, nice potion that you could use. You can also use Remove Curse to get rid of the side effects after rest. And, of course, you get yourself a +2 strength potion. So let's wait for that. Yeah, Potion of Everlasting Vigor. Now, drink that potion, you get yourself +2 strength. So we'll see from our character get from 18, you guessed it, to simply 20. So I'll show you that. Once we're done, we're going to go ahead and do the Mirror of Loss next. So there you go. There's your stat boost. So let's get to that mirror in Act 3. So here's the deal about the Mirror of Loss. You have to get past 2 intelligence checks. So if you don't have enough intelligence, I definitely advise killing 3 ogres if you did in Act 1. Get your intelligence up to 17, number 1. Number 2, get guidance to help you out as well. Some people respected their characters to get high intelligence to get past the intelligence checks. So if you did get the free charisma one, that's good. But you're going to lose 2 stats first, so that's usually you want to pick that. Something like, for example, for this build, just say lose 2 charisma. Or better yet, you lose 2 dexterity. So here's what each of the ones do, same as before with the loss. Now, number 1 is strength, just like the lost one. You get +2 strength now. Number 2 is +2 dexterity. Number 3 is +2 constitution. Number 4 is, you guessed it, +2 intelligence. Yes, these descriptions you can figure out. Number 5 is +2 wisdom. And number 6, as you guessed it, +2, I should say charisma. Now, just remember the first part, don't use the deception check because you get nothing. You get nothing out of it. So we're just going to go ahead for this demonstration, pick the charisma one on my paladin, and you'll definitely get that. Just remember you get curse yeah, just go ahead and use remove curse, and you're all set and done. As always with the mirror loss, make your some auto saves beforehand. There's a button for that on the PC. Don't know about the consoles, but yeah, still abuse that. I'm just going to go ahead and show you. Yeah, see, there's stolen valor. We just lost 2 dexterity. And of course, on this one, just demonstrating a very important, we got +2 charisma. I was at 18, now I'm at 20. For this build, you'll definitely get +2 strength. So go for strength. That's very important. Now, let's go ahead and do the before and after. So I'm going to go ahead and give the before and after if you decide to take all 3 options. So before, there's your normal stats, but after you get 24 strength in total. Dexterity's at 14, Constitution 16, now 17. If you spare Auntie Ethel, she'll give you Constitution hair. If you don't like that, put more into strength. Just remember, you're going to have an odd number. Unless you start out with odd, then that's fine. Intelligence 8, Wisdom 10, and 10 Charisma. So that's about it for the permanent stat boosts. So next up are the Tadpole Powers. I am going to go ahead and give everybody some suggestion on what Tadpole Powers you could get. I split them up into 2 categories: before the Astral Tadpole and after consuming said Astral Tadpole. So let's go ahead and do this now. The first one, Favorable Beginnings, boost attack rolls or give you advantage in dialogues. Really useful to abuse, definitely, especially in the dialogues. Call of the Week. When a creature has a few hit points less than your Tadpole power count, it dies instantly. This is a passive power. So creature has 5 hit points left. You have about 6 or 7 Tadpole powers. That creature's dead. Psionic Backlash. When a foe casts a spell, you do 1d4 damage per caster level. That goes up for every time you level up. It is really nice to abuse on casters. Force Tunnel, charge 4 and draws no attacks of opportunity when you do this. This is like a nice charge. Now, if you decide to use your Tadpole powers as a bonus action, a bonus when you do a certain quest in Act 1, that's a nice bonus action to abuse. Drain ability. An attack can either drain either strength, melee, or dexterity range at the first attack on said foe. I abused this quite a bit throughout the game once I did pick this ability. So let's go ahead and go to the next set of Tadpole powers if you decide to consume the Astral Tadpole. So let's go ahead and talk about the Astral Touch Tadpole powers. It unlocks now, aka I call it Tier 3. Or I call it Tier 2, depending on your outlook of it. Black Hole, OP AoE attack. It does a lot of damage, and you can use it 5 times, then it's long rest. It's a broken ability. I kill some very tough foes with it in 1 shot. It's a room clear. Fly, gain ability to fly. Just like the fly spell, you fly around. It's great. Repulsor, AoE pushback attack. So if any foes are like a whole bunch of them in your way, you want to push them away, then use that. Last but not least is free cast. Next ability, spells, or anything else like that is free of charge to use and abuse. That's about it for Tadpole powers. Next up is Gear Advice. About the gear, I'm going to go ahead and say this. When you go ahead and check out the gear in this build, make sure you look at the act and where it's at. Do not leave the area, or I should say definitely the act, until you get said item. So I'm going to go ahead and start with gear you must have by the time it's the end of Act 1. Which most likely before entering the Shadow Curse lands. First up, the headgear. The Haste Helm gains momentum for 3 rounds. So when you put this on, you get about almost double the movement. This is in a locked chest in the Blighted Village in Act 1. For some reason, if you cannot get this at all, here's a great alternative. Cap of Wrath, last stand. During combat, when the wearer starts their turn with 50% hit points or less, they gain Wrath for 2 turns. Now, Wrath is when you get 1 bonus to damage with melee weapons. This, by the way, all stacks to 7 maximum. Thud has this in the Underdark Grimforge area. Either kill him or have someone else kill him to get this in Act 1 at the, of course, the Underdark Grimforge area. So let's go ahead and, of course, get the next set of items. Chest piece. Now this one is actually a very good one. Bloodguzzler Garb, Grievous Retribution. When an enemy damages the wearer, they gain Wrath for 1 turn. Now the bullet drops this in the Underdark area in Act 1, so it's those land sharks. See the ground rumbling like crazy, they move towards you, that's a bullet, so be careful. Now here's another alternative. I felt like this is really good. Adamantite Scale Mail, Magical Plate, all incoming damage reduced by 1. Adamantite Backlash, when a melee attack hits you, the attacker is sent reeling for 2 rounds. Reeling foes who hits you gets a -1 penalty to attack rolls for every turn remaining, so that happens until they die or they win. Attackers can't land critical hits on the wearer. At the Grimforge in the Underdark in Act 1, that's the Grimforge area, I call it Underdark Part 2, must defeat Grim to have access to the Forge. No exceptions. Now, on to the next set of items. Next up for the gloves is the Reason's Grasp. Ever Vigilant. When the wearer chooses to end their rage, they gain 15 temporary hit points. This is at the cave after you defeat the gnolls where the Zents are at in Act 1. So yeah, that's you have to defeat the gnolls, try to be really sneaky, or kill the Zents in order to get these gloves. Now, if you do not want to do all that, here's a good alternative. Gloves of Dexterity. Your Dexterity is automatically set to 18 when you equip them, and you gain a +1 attack. This is at the Githyanki Crash. Now, I can't pronounce her name. That's Jira. She's a merchant that sells this in Act 1, so buy before attacking the Crash. So, yeah, play it cool. Now, for some reason you can't do all that, here's another alternative. Gloves of the Growling Underdog. 2 or more foes that surround you, you gain advantage on melee attacks, +1 strength saving throws. Now, Thordraj Grin, that is the, I think it's the Hobgoblin or the big fella, has the key. You enter his room. Behind his throne room, there's a treasure crate in there in the Shadow Sanctuary in Act 1. Loot that up. That's where these gloves are at. On to the next one. Here's some boots you definitely want to look out for. Boots of Speed. When used, your movement is double for 1 round. Thorla has this item in Act 1 in the Underdark. Yeah, it's at the Mitochondria Village. Definitely want to either talk her into giving it to you or complete her quest to cure her. Now, here's some good alternatives. Boots of General Stride. The wearer's movement speed is unimpeded by difficult terrain. Blurg sells this in the Underdark in Act 1. Honorable mention, Linebreaker Boots. That's dropped by the Wogmaster in the Shadow Sanctuary in Act 1. I didn't list that, but it's a good alternative. Now, next up are the necklaces. Amulet of Branding. Foes get hit with Branding spell. Takes double damage immediately. So, in other words, this is a great item. This is at the Githyanki Crash. The same person that sold you you guessed it, the Gloves of Dexterity actually drops this. Now, here's another alternative necklace in case you can't get that yet or so. Amulet of Restoration. Getting used to Mass Healing Word and Healing Word, which is 1 through 4 damage. It heals either by everybody gets that or your target. Dardrith Bone Cloak sells this at the Mitochondria Colony Underdark in Act 1. That's where his Thurla is at. So let's go on to the next set of equipment you should look out in this act. Here's some rings. Crusher Band, movement speed +3M. Steal or loot from Crusher to get this in the Goblin Camp in Act 1. Good ring. Caustic Band, you deal +2 acid damage to foes. This will add acid damage to your weapon. In other words, Dardrith's Bone Cloak sells this at the Mitochondria Colony in the Underdark in Act 1. Yeah, this is a hot place to get some stuff. Write it down. Seriously. Here's some good alternatives in case your party members has or you didn't find it yet. Ring of Absolute Force. Use of Thunderwave spell. If Absolute branded, you deal 1 extra damage from the Thunderwave spell. Sergeant Thrin in the Grimforge in Act 1 Underdark will drop this. Last but not least is the Spark Wall. Cannot be electrocuted. Electric resistance increase. Arcane Tower basement in the Underdark Act 1. Yeah, definitely want to hit that tower. So let's move on to the next set of Act 1 items. Let's go ahead and go over the weapons. The Sussor Greatsword. This is a +1 Greatsword. Silences target on hit. Finish the Master Weapon side quest by getting the Sussor Bark. And go find yourself a nice plain Greatsword. Combine it at the Forge in the Blighted Village in Act 1. Now, it's a very good sword to have. Now, alternative, I'm going to go ahead and mention these now. Sword of Justice, +1 Greatsword. This will give you Tears Protection. Gives a person with this buff +2 armor class. Now, that ends when you unequip the weapon. So just remember that. Anders in the Risen Road Toll House drops this. So if you're doing Karlach's quest and when you confront him about, of course, Karlach, yeah, he will turn on you. Definitely want to kill him for it. And now here's another alternative. This one's hard to get, but if you do get it, this is a great one. Everburn Blade is good to have. This if you like fire damage. You get it from killing Commander Zoc in the prologue. This is not easy to pull off on higher difficulty, like for example Tactician or Honor mode. So if you do get it, congratulations. Honorable mention, there's an axe in Act 1 called the Executioner's Axe. I don't remember where it's at. It's not a +1 or anything like that, but it's the last alternative. So let's go ahead and do ranged weapons. Now, next up are the ranged weapons. Titan String Bow. This is a +1 longbow. This longbow does damage equal to your strength mod. So, for example, it's a standard damage. You add your strength mod to it next. So, if your strength mod is, for example, 4, add +4 to it. Now, this is from Brim in the Zent's Hideout. Sells this in Act 1. If and only if you help out the Zents with their missing shipment quest, or you can avenge them after not triggering the traps. Now here's some good alternatives. Giant Breaker +1 heavy crossbow. Foe gets -1 attack for 2 rounds when hit with this. Same person that sells the Titan String Bow will also sell this. It's the same way on getting it exactly. Bow of the Banshee. This is a +1 short bow on hit. Possibly inflicted frighten. You also gain 1d4 against frightened targets. So you do extra damage against foes that are frightened. Kossar Grey Moon in the Grimforge Underdark area in Act 1 sells or drops this. Better buy it. That's the best way to do it. On to the endgame gear. Now, let's talk about endgame gear. So, please note this is very important. So, if it says Act 2 or Act 3, do not leave said act until you guessed it. You get the item in that act and the location in it. Let's talk about the headgear. The Bone Spike Helmet. Fury in the Morrow. When you rage, hostile creatures in a 3-meter radius must make a successful wisdom save throw or take 2 to 8 psychotic damage. Target receives half if they make the save. This will also have intimidation +2. And the menacing attack, which exactly works as a fighter version. Sold by the Voiceless Pendant, which is in Baldur's Gate City Sewers in Act 3. So it's underground. Find the silent merchant and then buy it. Here's another alternative. I felt like this is good. Horns of the Berserker Seeking Blood. You gain a +2 to attack rolls when attacking creatures that you already done damage to. Bloodthirst deals 2 necro damage to foes as long as you don't have full health. If you do not attack anyone, you take 1 through 4 necro damage on that round. Sold at the Dendrance Dancing Axe. This is at Wellington on the way to the lower city in Act 3. So let's move on to the next. Here are the next set of items, the cloaks. There are some good ones. Flesh Melter Cloak. When wear it gets hit, the attacker takes 1 to 4 acid damage. This is in the Gilded Chest in the House of Healing Morgue in Act 2. Yeah, don't leave Act 2 without it. Cinder Moth Cloak. Attacker takes burning damage, which is 1 to 4 fire damage per round. Alice Sarosas in the Lower City Sewers in Act 3 drops this. Yeah, you have to fight him to get it. Next up is the Cloak of Elemental Absorption. Absorb elements. This does is absorb elemental damage once per short rest. Takes half damage from the next elemental attack, targeting you. And deals an additional 1d6 of that elemental type on your next target. Found in Ketric Thorn's chambers in a chest in Moonrise Towers in Act 2. Do not leave Act 2 without that. Let's move on to the next set of gear. I found 2 pieces of chest gear, so here we go on that. Bone Spike Garb. This is gives you Slab Jaw Determination. You gain 15 temporary hit points whenever you rage. Exoskeleton Endurance reduces all incoming damage by 2 when the wearer is struck. By melee attack, the attacker takes 2 piercing damage. This is at the Rivington General Store in Act 3. That's the Dragonkin lady there that's all happy and such. You can also steal it. Just trust me, I already did that. Now here's no alternative. Enraging Heart Garb. Rumination Heart. While raging, the wearer generates 2 turns of Wrath. Wrath gives you a bonus in melee attacks by 1 that stacks up to 7. This also gives you Constitution +2 up to 20. 20 is the cap on that. Sold by Land Tarv, merchant, who is a merchant in the Moonrise Towers in Act 2. You find land, buy it from him before you leave the act. In other words, play it cool at the Moonrise Towers, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and list these 2 gloves anyways. Now, Gauntlet of Hill Giant Strength. This will give you +1 strength saving throws. Strength is set to 23. Now, if you have 24 strength, that part's useless. It's in the archives at the House of Hope in Act 3. I'm going to be honest, this build here gets up to 24, so if you did get this, that's fine, but once you get to 24 strength, I definitely do advise get the next set of gloves. Legacy of the Masters. This gives you +2 attack, and also damage rolls with weapons. +1 strength saves. Damien sells this in Act 3 Lower C. So you see Damien, buy this sucker ASAP. On to the next set of equipment. Now let's talk about the boots. I did add a nice alternative in it instead of Helldusk ones. I'll explain why. Bone Spike Boots, Evasive Instinct. You have a +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws as long as you're not wearing armor or holding a shield. Now you're wearing the Bone Spike chest piece. Yeah, that's considered cloth, so that gives you a bonus. That's the main reason why I put that on top, is that. Redefine Vaulting. The jump distance is increased by 1.5 meters. Brutal Jump. You gain is when this jump lands. In other words, you use Brutal Jump. Jump lands, and of course, I've hit some foes. They will make a save. They get prone for 2 rounds. This is at the hidden patches at the secluded beach in Rivington in Act 3. The same place where you have to make a choice between supporting the guild or the Stone Lords. Yeah, support the guild if you must. Another set of boots I would definitely say is Helldust Boots. Cannot be moved by magic means or normal means. In other words, you cannot be pushed at all around. Immunity to difficult terrain. That's good when especially you're a barbarian. When you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to succeed instead. And when you do teleport to an area with special ability and you land, you do 2 to 16 damage in that area. This is in Lord Gortash's room in Act 3. Lord Gortash has the key to the chest, so steal or kill him for it. Now, next up on the list are the necklaces. Amulet of Greater Health, Constitution set to 23, advantage on Constitution saving throws. In the archives at the House of Hope in Act 3. Don't leave the House of Hope without it. Now, here's a good alternative. Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet. When scoring a critical hit on a humanoid, the wearer can paralyze the target for 2 turns. After that, it's a long rest until it recharges. Malice Storm drops this at the House of Healing in Act 2. Do not leave Act 2 without it. And by the way, you can either kill him in combat or through dialogue to get this. On to the next set of equipment. Let's go over the rings. I have a total of 4 of them, so here we go. Killer Sweetheart. When you kill a creature, your next attack roll will be a critical hit. Same trial in the Gauntlet Shard in Act 2. Normally, that's dropped by the character that looks like your main character, so kill it, and the ring's there. Don't complete the trial without it. Ring of Regeneration. At the start of combat, you regen 1 through 4 hit points. Roland sells this in Act 3 at the Sorcerer's Sundry, so when you first time meet him there, buy the ring ASAP. Now, here's some good alternatives, and here we go. Ring of Free Action. You ignore the effects of difficult terrain and cannot be paralyzed or restrained. Aja, that's the strength potion NPC that you saw earlier, sells this in Act 2 at the Moonrise Towers. Buy it before you leave. Risky Ring. Gain advantage on attack rolls and disadvantages on saves. It's a change off. The same person that's to give you the strength potion also sells this in Act 2. Like I said with the other one, don't leave without it. On to the next set of gear. Weapons. Balurian's Giant Slayer. This is a great sword +3 on hit. Double your strength mod. So if your strength mod is say 5, it'll now be 10. Advantage on creatures large and above. Giant Form is when you do 1d6 extra damage. You have 27 extra hit points. And saving throw advantage is dropped by the boss of the Wormway Trials in Act 3. Complete the trials. Fight the boss. Not spoiling who it is, but you should know by now. There's another alternative, Sword of Chaos. On hit, you regenerate 1 through 6 hit points, +2 Great Sword. That's what it is. Lure from you-know-who in the Murder Tribunal in Act 3. So here's the deal. There's another weapon I didn't mention. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Now, in Act 3, there's a shifty merchant who is also a member of the Sharp, I should say, religion. So this nice 2-handed axe. It'll summon an axe. It's a +2 Great Axe. So if you want to go for that as well, go for it. You should be going for all, I should say, 2-handed weapons anyways throughout the game. On to the next set of equipment, which is the last of it. Now, we're on the ranged weapons. This is similar to my paladin and, yes, my fighter builds. Darkfire Shortbow, +2 Shortbow, gains resistance to fire and ice. Can cast haste, really useful. Damien sells this in Act 2. Now, if you don't get in Act 2, he might sell it in Act 3, so get in Act 2 big time. Here's some good alternatives. This is a nice one. Fabricated Albarus. +2 heavy crossbow. Illuminating shot. Fires a shimmering bolt that inflicts 1 turn of radiant orb upon the target. Deals 1d4 piercing damage. Dazzling Ray. This means unleash a beam of brilliant light that blinds all creatures in its path until the spell ends. You can recast it at any time. Casting it again may give you a burn. So be careful on that. This lasts 10 turns. Now on save throws it takes half the damage. Now the full damage of that is 2d6 radiant damage, so that's a lot of damage. Lord Gortash drops this in Act 3. You're planning to murder him? Go ahead, go for it. He has a nice bow. I should say heavy crossbow. Now for the next part of this build video, we're going to talk about potions, elixirs, and oils. Let's go ahead and talk briefly about the potions, elixirs, and oils. So definitely want to make good use of alchemy since it can make your character really powerful. So here's my suggestions first on the potions, then elixirs, and finally oils. Let's go over these potions. Healing potions of all types in the game is a must. So in case, for example, Shadowheart's dead, go ahead and chug a healing potion to heal yourself. Potion of Haste gains extra action, plus 2 AC, advantage on dexterity saving throws, and double movement speed. There's a side effect to it, but by the time that side effect happens, most likely all your foes, or nearly all of them, are dead. Next up is the Potion of Flying, same as the Fly spell. Honorable mention, Potion of Vaulting gives you much more jumping distance and height as well. Next up are the Elixirs. The Elixir of Vigilance gains a +5 bonus to initiative, and you cannot be surprised at all. Great elixir to use until you get the Barbarian version, which is +3 bonus to initiative and can't be surprised. Or the Alertness feat, wherever comes first. Elixir of the Colossus, increased size, gains strength saving throws and advantages, and also does 1d4 weapon damage. Because you have a big size, you get to jump more likely higher and such. Next up is the Elixir of Viciousness. Increase your chances to land a critical hit. Great alternative after you, of course, you get the Barbarian ones for the Vigilance ones. So yeah, definitely use that. Next up is the Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength. Set your strength to 27. Now the other alternative is Hill Giant, which is sets your strength to 23. Or I think it was 21, but still. See Cloud Giant Strength, chug it up. Last but not least is Elixir of Bloodlust. Upon killing a foe, you gain 5 temporary hit points and an extra bonus action. In other words, you get another action to hit foes like crazy. Now onto oils. Oil of Accuracy coats your weapon, bonus of +2 in attack rolls. Another one, this is a good one against spellcasters and clerics and druids. Wizard's Bane Oil. Its target receives a -3 penalty to spell attack rolls and spell save DC, and also disadvantage on saving throws for maintaining concentration for 2 turns. Another tip I'm going to go ahead and say is if you find any poisons, you want to use that as a last ditch effort. Poison your weapon as well. Let's go ahead and do the combat test. I am going to go ahead and demonstrate this, I should say, beginning the game, aka Act 1 with Karlach. So Karlach's a barbarian. I respected her to the Berserker build like my setup I showed everyone. And let me go ahead and say this, you have at level 4, greater weapon mastery, and you use your bonus action, you get yourself another attack. So as you see before you, I'm about to attempt to do a kill streak. Unfortunately, I got 2 out of 3, which is fine. Still, at the very beginning of the game, with Karlach in the party, or if yourself as a Berserker as your main character, then you're going to really get a lot of kills out of this. Yeah, your DPS will be at very high. And of course, once you get to level 4 and 5, yeah, you're going to go up there. So the more you level up later on in the game, more damage you'll definitely go ahead and do. Now, watch Karlach wipe out these 2 most likely. Yep, 1 and of course 2 again. Unfortunately, I have to climb to get the last one. But still, we definitely did it. So let's go on to the next combat demonstration. Later on in the game, it's just like in Act 1, you're going to do a lot more damage. Sometimes you're going to need to phone in help. For example, I should say, either a paladin like this character next to Karlach, or use a spellcaster like, for instance, Gale to weaken the foes, which is good. As for boss fights itself, you're going to do a lot of damage. And if you do it correctly, you could quickly wipe out a boss. With a whole bunch of party members who are good just like you, or close to it, you're going to definitely wreck the encounters like crazy, especially with this build. On to the final advice. So when you do start leveling up, 1 and 2, it's going to be a little bit hard for you. Once you get to level 3 where you pick your subclass, then your rage will become a frenzy. Things will start to get a little bit more easier. Now, when you do get to level 4, you get your greater weapon mastery. Your DPS will definitely go up. By the time you get to level 5, you get your second attack, which is absolutely wonderful. Another thing I'm going to definitely say is with the right gear and equipment, you could really damage many foes in your path. Now, early start, you're probably one of the few characters in your party, or should I say, for example, you or Karlak, if you want to use this build with her, you're going to really one-shot so many foes. As for bosses, there'll be no problem for you throughout the game, big time, as long as you know what the account is, what you're definitely doing. You're going to be doing a lot of damage with this build, and of course, as always, if you can, keep on frenzy up on boss fight encounters or very tough ones. Just remember positioning as well, so this way you'll definitely win the day. This is it for my Baldur's Gate 3 Pure Barbarian Berserker Raging DPS build video. This is Lord Fenton signing off. Thanks for watching and have a great day or night, and do please stay safe. Please subscribe to my channel for more classic and modern Dungeons & Dragons walkthroughs, builds, guides, and more just like this. If you like what you see, then go ahead and pick my suggestion on the upper left-hand corner or YouTube suggestion on the bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and relax in this nice chair.